Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Dexter New Blood Season 1, Episode 6, Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. That is the title, and I'm not a tuna sandwich guy. I'm just going to come out there and admit that right now. So, one is too many tuna sandwiches in my book, just saying.
I'm a tuna sandwich girl. I like it. There's never too many. Okay, no, there is, but they're tasty.
You can have all of my tuna sandwiches then, because clearly Jim Lindsay has had too many of them. He has tuna brainwashed or tuna washed himself.
There is a lot to go over in this episode. A lot was revealed. There was a lot of sort of new mysteries that are coming out about all of this. But before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to be talking about Dexter all throughout the season, and we don't want you to miss anything. And also follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. We have some new pictures up from over the weekend, getting some of our Christmas stuff together. So yeah, make sure you check that out as well.
Okay, can we just start by saying this? I really liked this episode. I liked this episode a lot. I thought there was a lot of stuff in here. I mean, yes, a couple of things were of the, all right, we all collectively in the entire world saw this coming, including Harrison in the wrestling match, which we will get to, but still.
Sweep that leg, Harrison. Okay. Cobra Kai never die.
Okay, see, we're going to be talking about Cobra Kai later on this month, and we're clearly excited about it.
That's what it reminded me of. Okay, since you brought it up, let's get into this. So let's get into the Harrison of it all before we get into some of the other meat of it. We know that Harrison has been having a tough time here. We know everything that happened with Ethan. We saw Dexter and Harrison having some therapy together where Dexter, oh my goodness, I don't know why he decided to go into this direction. Maybe he's just been lying so long that he just can't open up about anything. But the minute that he sat on that couch with Harrison and said, me and Rita, sort of our marriage, didn't work out, I was just like, wow, that's really hard to say something like that with your son sitting there who knows exactly what happened. They both know what happened. It is out there. It is on a podcast. Maybe not their names, but it is out there.
Here is my impression of Dexter at therapy. A lot of stuff happened. It was bad. And this is like, Dexter could have been like hit by a truck, and then he walks into therapy with like 3 broken limbs to be like, I got hurt. It wasn't great. It's like, you gotta give something.
No, I was really glad that Harrison just called that out and straight up said, at this moment, I feel abandoned. Sitting on this couch, I'm being abandoned. Like, we both know what happened to my mom. She was killed by a serial killer. You know it. I know it. We both know it. Like, why is this going this way?
Dexter doesn't know how to be a good father, and I think that's a big through line in the entirety of this episode, because I at least feel like if Dexter was approaching things with Harrison in a different way, Harrison wouldn't be feeling this need to sort of cozy up to Kurt Caldwell, of all people, because here is Kurt, a guy who is saying, Harrison, I care about you. I accept you. I want you to work at this diner. I want you to go out there and do your best and take out the other guy. I mean, sure, Kurt says it in a less than favorable way, but it is still, Kurt is kind of being the attaboy, pat you on the back, whereas Dexter is being the go to your room sort of guy.
Which is kind of how it is in life, right? Yeah. I mean, you're a teenager, your parents are not your best friends. Everybody who is not your parents understands you better than, they do. Allegedly, it's kind of just the way that you feel when you're a teenager. And he's doing some other teenager stuff too. He went over to Audrey's house. They got caught in bed together the next day. But there was something very dark about this scene. Obviously, they really confide in each other, how they both feel like outsiders. He's confided in her about how he feels this need to want to hurt people and this sort of darkness about him. And then the darkest part happens. They start to cozy.
Yeah.
He turns around and that straight razor is sitting in his back pocket. That isn't good.
No, Harrison's motto here clearly is you can never be too prepared. It's like he is ready for anything, no
Yeah.
matter where he goes, what he does.
Is that it, or was he actually going there with the intention of killing her that night? I mean, it's just we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But just it went by fast, but it was there. That razor was in his back pocket.
And he obviously is someone who has a dark switch that can be flipped on almost right away, which is why this whole notion of out of all the sports for Harrison to get involved with, I think there's a couple you should rule out right away. You know, football for obvious reasons, and I feel like wrestling should be number 2 because even in football, you at least have on a helmet. Like, you have on some pads. There's none of that other than that, face thingy that they wear that I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling or, karate or martial arts. I mean, all of these sports don't seem like maybe the right place for him if he's unable to sort of have that discipline to be able to control himself, which he clearly does not at this point. Those sports can be really good at helping to teach that.
Yeah.
But not when Curt is over there. And it is a bit strange where Dexter's like, I'm going to go down there. That's my son kind of thing. Oh, well, you can't. No parents allowed. Well, why is Curt there? He has no son in the game right now. So what is going on? Oh, he's earned that. Okay, no. Nothing's going to stop Dexter from going down there. Not even you.
Listen, Iron Lake. I have a lot of questions about Iron Lake, but I will limit it to just 2 on this particular subject. Number 1, is Curt kind of like the Iron Lake version of like the booster at like a college football program who's like sliding $5,000 under the table to get people to come and play for that team? Because it feels like he is sort of like the I'm here to help. I will do the shady stuff that no one else needs to do to get this team as good as possible.
I need to know more about Curt and sort of his money and what's going on with him in general, because this is what we kind of know. We know that he has this diner that he owns, so at least he has money to buy that property. We know that he has a cabin out in the woods in the middle of nowhere, so he has money to buy that property. We also saw him again in I guess a makeshift morgue, but I mean, it looked like it was pretty well put together. We've seen this sort of embalming process that he's done already. We saw a morgue table. We saw the last woman that he killed on this table. We saw him doing waxwork, which for those of you who are not funeral directors, I'm a former funeral director. Waxwork is something that you would do to sort of patch up things like a bullet wound or something like that. So he's got he has to have some sort of background in funeral service to know how to embalm, to know how to do waxwork, all that sort of stuff. So that means that there's gotta be that in his past as well, which, it pays decent, but it doesn't pay decent enough to be owning a restaurant, owning a cabin, owning, having all this money to give away. Like, and we know that he's pretty wealthy. I mean, Matt was, doing all right because his dad's doing all right. So where's all this money coming from? I really kind of just want to know that, if this is sort of the background that he had, unless he was a funeral home owner and it's sort of been handed down through generations. Like, what is happening here with this backstory? I need clarity.
Okay, I have even with all of that in mind, I now have even more questions about Iron Lake in general, because okay, Curt, you clearly have a good bit of money. You clearly are some sort of like no name in the town. You're a man about town, all of this other sort of stuff. You're like randomly handing money to anyone who you see needs it. Okay, listen, this is a joke. It's a joke. Is Curt the Mr. Beast of Iron Lake?
Okay,
He's just handing out money to everyone. Listen, I know Mr. Beast is not Kurt Caldwell. It's just a joke. I will see myself out, but not before I also say this. How big a town is Iron Lake? Because listen, I grew up in a small town. We did not have wrestling. And even if we did, there was a lot of people in this town for like a wrestling match. I just don't know, unless you're a parent, like, are you really going to this?
Yeah, I'm assuming that this town is not quite as small as the one that you grew up in.
Yeah, I would suppose not, but there's a lot of things about this town that just sort of feel weird to me, where it seems like at one point it's like really tiny and folksy, and you have this police department with only like 3 people, but then you've got like Kurt and his business empire, and then you have Olsen, who we haven't seen in forever, and there's people who are willing to go and protest. And it's like, okay, well, where are all these people? Does this like 3-person police department really cover this?
Yeah, no, it's not consistent when it comes to that, where it's like, is this a small town or is this not a small town? Like there's parts of it that feel small town, like the police department, but there's a lot of this also, like you said, with the different wrestling teams and different whatever, it's like that are bigger, and it just feels like it is a bit bigger than they're kind of making it out to be.
Well, let's get over to the folksiness of this police department, because we closed last week with the big reveal that Angela now knows the truth, that Dexter is in fact Dexter Morgan.
I was so glad that just got dealt with right at the very beginning. I was like, oh man, is she going to sit on this and do more digging? Like, I was glad right away, pulled him over. We're going to the police station. We're going to have a talk. At first I was kind of like, why would you give him more time to figure out a better lie on the way to the police station? I was surprised she wasn't like, we're going to have this talk and we're going to have her right here on the side of the road before you can make something up. Quick, before you can make something up.
That would have been the smarter thing to do, easily.
However, it seemed that even when he got to the police station to talk to Angela, he was mostly honest about what was going on. And I mean, he didn't tell her everything, but that's kind of how the best lies work, right?
Yeah.
You bury it in a pile of truth and you tell as much truth as you can. Just leave out the killing part.
It makes perfect sense what he said, because he knows he can probably back it up if evidence comes up. It's researched enough in his own past to seem believable. But I also do appreciate that Angela was not like, oh, okay, I totally understand. Let's be together and happy. It's like, okay, yeah, she still has the right to be absolutely infuriated about this, even if on some level she does understand. It doesn't mean that she wants to continue to be with him.
Yeah, you can understand and not want to. I do not know how that relationship gets past that hurdle. Like, we did see her call him at the end and say, no, I need Dexter, like I need the real you type person, but it may not be for what he's hoping it's going to be, which is a relationship. And with a lie that big, I just don't really know, for her as a cop, how she gets past that. For her as just a person, that lie is so big. And sometimes there's lies that are just so big that even if you forgive that person, you just can't be with them anymore. Like, it's just too much.
Yeah, like, I just don't see a scenario where those two can really be anything close to what they once were. And I think it's only going to go sort of from bad to worse. Like, even with her calling him, like, that's just a call. Like, that's, we're not even anywhere with them right now.
So let's talk about Angela, since we're on her right now. So she feels very confident that there is something weird going on with Kurt. I mean, everybody's starting to figure out that something weird is going on with Kurt. And she decides that she's going to go up and check out these caves, which is basically right when Kurt said, hey, everybody, I found Matt. He's doing just fine. Everything's a-okay, sort of thing. She's like, okay. So she went up there to check what was going on and was like, scurrying through this tiny little like pathway, where I was watching this and I was kind of like, this is a very tiny little pathway she's shimmying through. She's a small person. Kurt is humongous. Like, he is a really big guy. There has got to be another entranceway, because if he is bringing in bodies through there, he himself is barely going to fit through there. On top of what is he doing? He's pushing the body through. He's trying to drag it with his feet. Like, I don't, there has to be another entranceway to this.
Yeah, the thing is that I'm sort of wondering is, apparently, are there not a lot of good places to hide dead bodies in Iron Lake? Because we saw Dexter like rummaging through a lot of this stuff earlier this season too. And it's like, okay, this, obviously, it's dark. People aren't going up there. I mean, clearly it did work to hide a body to a certain extent, just not the body that Angela was really looking for.
And all of this, even because Angela's not an idiot. And I know that Curt has this sort of persona of good guy around town, helping everybody, whatever,
Yeah.
but with the amount of missing people that have come in and gone missing and come in and gone missing in the area, wouldn't anybody working for Curt at his diner at some point have maybe mentioned that these people have been to the diner? All of them. Like, it just feels like there's something that's kind of just missing story-wise from that no one has ever said anything about it. Oh, this person's missing. Oh, yeah, I served them earlier today at the diner. A couple months later, oh, this person's missing. Oh, yeah, Curt offered them a job like a couple days ago. Like, where is that?
It almost feels like it's one of those things that's so obvious that people don't pay really any attention to it. And I guess it's just because Curt's not trying to hide in the shadows. You know, he's big, he's bombastic, he's out there, and like, it's either all this or these people in Iron Lake just are completely clueless and have no idea how to investigate anything, which other than Angela and maybe Logan, who, by the way, Logan is getting very close to being called my guy Logan now, because I am all in on Logan's nonsense of his, you want advice from me? All right, I'm in. Let's do it. Logan was so excited.
He's great. I had been missing that a little bit from this version of the show, because we've had that in the past where we've had characters that bring that little bit of funny to the show. And, you know, Logan, I like Logan. He's bringing that.
Okay, this is where we start to get into unsettling territory, where I start to worry that me and Dexter are thinking a little bit too much the same, because for a while now I've been on here being like, okay, Molly obviously must know something about who Dexter is because, you know, she's done all these podcasts.
Okay, well, if she's done all these podcasts and she's kind of figured out, you know, even just everyone who's working, you know, was working at Miami Metro.
Yeah.
She has seen Dexter around. At no point has she looked at him and been like, this guy looks really familiar, like really familiar. Like, that has never happened. So it was kind of like, all right, I get that maybe you're worried about her because she's has this podcast and she's mentioned on the podcast, and we saw Dokes in there. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I love that. Anyway, so then, you know, she's mentioned, oh, maybe Dokes is not actually the Bay Harbor Butcher. Maybe he's still out there, kind of thing. But there hasn't been anything from Molly when she has seen Dexter around to actually have that moment of pause or worry or even recognition of, hey, I know who you are. Like, I've really researched this.
That is so bizarre to me. Like, I really don't understand it. Like, I would fully be in Dexter's shoes in this episode where I'm like, this person clearly knows something. They're in town. Why are they still in town? I'm gonna be really, really... It's not like Dexter went and, like, dyed his hair pink and is, like, wearing a mustache or something like that. He doesn't look that different from what he did in Miami.
Yeah, and the other thing that I was kind of like, I don't know, with Molly. So Molly sits down with Curt and calls him out about Matt. And then Curt's like, hey, why don't I take you to this secret off-the-grid map where Matt just happens to be? I mean, I know she's not a cop or anything like that, but she's been doing this a long time. Yeah. Her business is killers. Her business is talking about true crime and sort of how these types of things happen. You're gonna call out this guy on his lie.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know something is off. He's going to come clean and tell you that his son is off the grid in the middle of nowhere. Let's go for a ride. Get into my van and let's go. It's just kind of like, no. Molly, why? Like, why?
I knew we were going to get to this because this is by far the biggest question mark of just like pure nonsensory. I know that's not a word, but it is true with this.
She's not an idiot.
Yeah. This is an idiotic thing to do, and that is the thing that doesn't make sense about it. It's like, for someone who was smart enough to produce a podcast, have a lot of success about a podcast, and then, number one, not apparently recognize Dexter's face, a sign that you didn't do that much research, and number two, that you would be like, okay, strange man I've barely conversated with.
Who just lied to me?
Yeah, let's go to your weird cabin in the middle of nowhere that is off the grid, and not until I'm actually down in the basement of the weird cabin, because go to my basement is the only thing that is worse than go to my cabin.
No, the minute that those like doors to this basement open, I don't know why anybody's going down into the basement at that point. No. That is bizarre. Hey, can I offer you a room to stay in? Sure. Let me open these cellar doors. That minute you know that it's all done. Like, you just gotta leave.
Yeah, and here comes, Dexter to save the day because, he's been doing his own research on Molly, but then realizes, oh, Molly's in trouble, and oh, Dexter really is in a lot of ways all of us in this moment. Not that we're serial killers, but why is all of this here? Why is this door locking from the outside? What is going on?
Why is there a camera up here? I mean, the whole thing was done quite well that Dexter was able to get around, get into that room, and have everything confirmed for him.
Now we are really, I think, set up in a super exciting way where we have Dexter versus Curt in kind of a form that we haven't seen so far. Strangely, we also have Molly, who is still alive and active, which I thought she was either going to be dead or gone in this episode.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised she didn't just leave town after that. I mean, after seeing sort of the creepy basement room, she realized she was in danger. She pulled out, pepper spray. She knows that something was going on. I understand she has a podcast, but that's all she has. She is a podcaster. She's not law enforcement. I would like to see in the next episode either she's leaving town because she knows that she was in danger and there's something really bad going on here, or she's going to go and tell Angela what happened straight up. This is what happened.
Yeah, she's got to do something. And it just, like, this season at this point, it is quintessential Dexter, where I think we're both, like, so in and really, really enjoying it, even in spite of the fact that there's at least, like, 3 or 4 things that make complete no sense at all, but it doesn't really even matter because it's such a ridiculously entertaining show.
Yeah, because the other thing that is, I mean, things are just getting so messy for Curt is this was such a big sort of step for Curt to even decide to bring Molly there. Molly is not a runaway, someone that no one's going to be looking for with her millions of followers online that follow her blindly anywhere to do anything, will do research for her. If she went missing, like we've seen this even recently in the news with YouTubers or podcasters that have gone missing and things have happened and it becomes nationwide news. This was a huge roll of the dice that Curt was going to take with this.
Curt, you're lucky Dexter showed up when he did. That's all I'm saying. Because if he had killed her, things would have been like infinitely worse. But let's turn this over to you guys now. Did you enjoy Dexter New Blood Season 1, Episode 6? Were you surprised to see Dokes make an appearance, even if it was just a very, very tiny one?
That's great.
Let us know. Hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like. Thank you guys for watching as always, and we'll see you here next time.